Hey guys, welcome back. Oh, let's start that. Sucked. I don't know where I even did that one for. Don't look at that. It's because of the camera. Oh shit. Hey guys, and welcome to episode 10 of the Silverback Blueprint Podcast. Oh, my voice cracked on that. It's like I'm going through puberty again. Cool. I'm under pressure because I got the video going on right now. What I want to talk about today is actually some of the guys that have come through the Silverback Blueprint program we have at Hostile, and give them a little bit of a shout out and some respect, but really talk about just the changes they've made and some of the awesome things that they've done and they're doing, and you know where they were and where they are now is incredible. We've got guys that are in their 40s, 50s, 60s. One of my oldest guys, Luke Pocket, 63, 64. He's lost like 30, 40 pounds doing the Silverback Blueprint. He's a machine. He does our boot camps at 5:45 in the morning. He skis. He does all kinds of stuff. Super guy, and but just in great shape. And what I really like about Luke is that he works really hard. Some of the guys, 40, 35, 40 that are in the group sometimes just shake their head. This guy just doesn't stop and just keeps coming at them. So he's highly competitive, but competitive with himself, which I really love. But human like everybody else. So along the way, I think he's been with us for 2 or 3 years now, if not more. And he'll do super well. And that crazy shit summer shows up, and then the cottage, the things like that, and he'll go away. And he'll still train, but the food will get out of control a bit, and he'll gain 15, 16, 18 pounds. But what I really like about Luke is he'll just come and see me, and he'll be like, Kurt, when's the next Silverback starting? I got to jump back in, because he loves how it just dials it in for him, gives him that accountability, and gives him that focus and something to follow. And it works for him. And that's why I like how he can use it as a tool just to put himself back right. So again, we talked a little while ago about, how quickly we can derail. That's his thing that he does as a pivot thing, is he jumps back in on that specific program. We got Trevor. Trevor was on our podcast with Rhapsody, Trevor and Eric. They've been Hostile for a while now, and they've done phenomenally. Lost weight, but stronger, fitter. Trevor, his last go around on deadlifts, pulled a 315-pound deadlift. This is a guy that when we started 2 Silverbacks ago had trouble getting 70, 75 pounds off the ground, technically setting up his body. His lower back was just not strong enough. His core was weak. And now, here we are, months later, and, he's pulling 3 plates, 315 pounds. It's phenomenal, right? Again, his mid-40s. Eric, he's a machine, fitter, tougher, stronger, just incredible, right? But they all started, less than that. And that's the thing to remember, right, is that everyone has to start. I've got Jim and Andre, my 6 p.m. Silverbacks. I train them at 6 p.m. Most Silverbacks I train at 8 p.m. And these guys just pound away at it. They're, I think Andre's 50 or 51, maybe a little bit older. I don't know. I can't tell. Jim's 58. And actually, we just posted Jim's deadlift on the Facebook yesterday. Those of you watching the video, you can see we got him going right there. And, last night he pulled a 315-pound deadlift. This is a guy at 58 years old, 6 months ago, had a horrible concussion. And, I remember some of the first early workouts, if he stood up too quick, his head was spinning and we had to sit down. So we had to rebuild through that. And he was fit and strong because he's been with the program for, I think, almost 2 years now. Had that concussion and had to basically start from zero. In fact, less than zero. So how frustrating. But again, super impressive that he stuck with it. And I would tell him all that. Every time we had a workout and he'd have to, a third of the way through or halfway through, he would be done. You could tell it was tough on him mentally, and, I'm sure he's either blushing or slightly embarrassed. He's one of those guys that, just works really hard and doesn't like to quit. But you know what? I told him, I said, you know what, dude, I'm proud of you because you're pushing through this. Most people would use this as an excuse to do nothing, right? To justify not going through the hard work. And this guy's like, fuck that. We're going to do it. I mean, there'd be a lot of workouts where I'd have to pull him back and I have to say, that's enough for today, Jim. But you know what? I love doing that. Andre as well. Andre had bad hip and some other back issues and shoulder issues. This fucking guy just motored through it and just kept pushing and kept pushing. These guys are 100 times fitter, tougher, and stronger than when they were when they started. Doesn't mean we don't have bad days. Doesn't mean that we don't have flare-ups. I mean, that's part of getting older. But the thing is, they can get so much more done. And these are two guys that never really trained like that before, and they love it. So Jim and Andre at 6 p.m. are just crushing it, and they're killing it, and they look forward to the workouts. And you ask them, ask Andre. We've had this conversation. He goes, he never thought he would like training so much, right? He found the right style of training, the right place to do it, and he put himself and committed to it. And he can't see himself not training, which is phenomenal. Isn't that great? At 50 years old, to find something like this, to get focused on, and to get excited about, and to be driven about, and all the positive things that it brings around it is phenomenal. We focus on the deadlift and on the squat, on the deadlift, on the bench press when I work with the Silverbacks, because those are key compound exercises I like to see guys get stronger on. But I also like them to improve their mobility so that they can work these exercises. So it's just a great way to see progress. And you know what? It does play into the male ego and they're a little bit psyche a little bit about how much can I lift? Right? We've all been there as guys. We walked up to something, a weird rock or a piece of metal on the ground, and we've all fucking wondered, hey, can I lift it? Well, I want to be that guy that wants to try and do it and stuff like that. And then even better, not just try, but actually pick it up and stuff, right? And that's really part of what we sort of rebuild or rekindle, there's that word again, in the program, is that warrior that just, I want to do this, right? Even though I'm scared shitless, I want to do it because I'll feel worse having not tried than not having done it at all, right? So to me, that's really important. But the biggest changes I see in all these guys that work on the program and go through it is the change in their mindset, their happiness, right? Just the quality of life. They have more energy. They feel better. They stand up taller. I always say it when we do the before and after photos and stuff. Look at the smile before, look at the smile after. There is a huge difference in the smile after. There's a change behind the eyes, right? The eyes are the soul, the windows of the soul. It really reflects what's going on in your head, right? We talk about the mental approach. Last night, for the other group, we did some deadlifting, and you know what? I could tell a couple of the guys were just off, and they were working hard, but they were a little disappointed. And I said, you know what, guys? That happens in the strength game. It's mental. It's 90% mental and 10% in your head. That really makes a big difference. So again, that focus, that mindset, right, that we talk about, protecting and strengthening and who you hang out with and what are the thoughts and scripts that you put in your head is so vital, because it has such a direct impact to the results that we go through, the things that we're trying to do, right? In the strength game, we always we see guys, they get all psyched up and get angry and they slap in the face and they slap them on the back and stuff like that. And you know what? That's great. If that truly does motivate them, that's good. I've never been that guy. If I'm in a shitty mood for whatever reason, if there's a cloud over my head, it affects my lifting that day. It affects my mood that day. It affects everything. But if I can turn it around, or I'm just, 9 times out of 10, I think I'm a pretty positive guy, and I work on staying higher in the positivity scale and catching myself sooner when I'm not. But when I'm in a good mood, when I'm cracking jokes, when I'm excited, my lifts are 1,000% better, because that's the mindset that works for me overall. And I've tried it over 25 years of lifting and competing. I've tried the psyching up and the slapping and the angry, and it just doesn't work. I've had actually meets where I've blown it because of that, right? But I tried. Now I know, right? It's just being true to yourself and stuff. But not to say that not having something like powerlifting or strength and conditioning, the kettlebells, the grind workouts we do, those are great to give yourself a release and an outlet for those inner frustrations, the anger, the tempers. We all have bad days. So being able to just leave it all out on the floor, as I like to say, where you just push and you just exhausted that anger tank, I think it has a tremendous value. Because if not, that pressure is going to stay inside us, and it's going to come out, and eventually it is going to erupt, but usually at the wrong time in the wrong place when we least want it, right? At our cousin's wedding, or at a friend's house or whatever, or that guy who bumped your cart in the grocery store and you fucking lose it, and when the smoke clears, you're in jail because you lost your shit. You weren't mad because the cart got bumped. You were just fucking mad, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back and stuff, right? And what we have to do as men is not let ourselves get to that point. We have to catch ourselves, and we have to find ways to mitigate those things, right? And purge them from our system and get rid of them, but in a positive as possible way. So it's working out, it's meditation, it's reading. One of the other episodes we're going to do a little later down the line, I'll talk about some of the books I read, right? I was just talking to Luke from the podcast wagon, and I asked him, I said, do you think people really want to hear about what books I read? Every fucking podcast does it. But he had a great point. He goes, but people want to hear what you're reading, right? If they're listening to me, they want to know what I'm reading, what I find interesting, what I try to tie my mind up with. So we'll do that a little bit later. There's nothing freaky about it. I read a lot. I used to read a ton of fiction, but now I really spend most of my time reading things on self-improvement, business, branding, all the stuff I really like doing. But I mean, it's part of how I organize the thoughts in my head, how I structure things so that whatever is in my head is positive and moving me towards my goal, towards the vision that I have for my brand, for my company, for myself overall. But again, right, all this, that's what's, I think, the magical part of what we do with the Silverback Blueprint is we kind of built this cool system of training and of journaling and some different things so that we can really harness all the positivity in that. But at the same time, it's focused on guys over 40 because at this, a 20-year-old isn't going to have the same issues in his head that a 40-some and a 50-some-year-old are. We're just not, right? We're at different stages of life. We have things, one of my favorite things, I'm a big Rocky fan, and when it was last Rocky, the older one where he came back and fought the guy, in his 50s and stuff like that, he talked about there was still things in the basement. There were still things to prove. There's still things that he wasn't finished with, right? And I truly believe, I think that was probably one of the coolest things that came out of that movie, is I truly believe that we have a lot of things left in the basement. At 40, at 50, we're not done. It's not like 100 years ago where, you didn't live that long, or if you did, you were truly old, right? At 40 and 50, we're halfway through. There's a lot we want to do. There's a lot of time, a lot of things that we've been putting off because we've put family and career and jobs and businesses first, right? But now we have to, at the same time, now that we have some time and we have the energy and we have the means, we need now to turn around and fulfill those things that are still in our basement. One cool thing, and I don't think I've talked about this in the podcast, but I was in May, I'll say 2017 in case you're listening to this from the future. I was in Europe, went to Barcelona, went to Spain, did the whole Mediterranean cruise, and we were in the Greek islands, and we went to Santorini, and we climbed this volcano, right? It's the whole island's like an active volcano. There was no lava. I was a little disappointed. I thought there'd be lava. But it was like a crater, and it was hot and stuff like that. But this motherfucker was like fucking 3.5 kilometers up. It was all like you're walking on, lava rock and very little bit of dirt, and it's uphill and downhill and uphill again. And it was a trek. And we had 90 minutes to get to the top, look around, take some pictures, and then get our asses back down to catch the boat. Because if you miss the boat, it'd be like 3 hours, and then you're going to be late getting onto the cruise ship, and that's a whole fucking thing. So there was some hustle, and the whole trip, I knew there would be a lot of walking, there'd be a lot of climbing, and a lot of stuff to see, and I was training for it, and I wanted to do it, but I was really in the back of my mind, I was thinking about this Santorini hill because I knew it was a big trek. 5 minutes into it, I'm like, holy fuck, it's Spartan again, right? It was tough. So I just kept pounding at it, kept doing it. I was there with the kids. I was there with my wife, and my nieces and nephews were there, and a couple hundred other people. And just climb, and I would go, and then when I had to stop, I'd rest for 30 seconds to a minute. My back was tight, or the cardio, and then I would just go, and I would just go. And then you get to the top, and you realize you're not at the fucking top. There's more top to be had. But when I finally got to the top, there was like this monument thing there. And I'm getting up there, and I don't have a lot of time. So I get there, and, I touch the monument to say I'm there. And then I'm breathing, and I'm, trying to catch my breath for photos and stuff. And then while I was there was this older guy, and this guy had to be like in his 80s. And he was working hard, and he was there. And, the guy, he was an Englishman, he was from Britain. And started talking real quick. And he was telling me in like the 3 minutes, he had hired this guy to get him up there. You could tell this guy was old, but at the same token, he was so fucking proud that he got to the top of this hill. And here I am sucking wind, realizing, look, this guy did it. I better do it. But not only that, but what was really sharp, what really struck home with me, this guy, is that he was so proud because 3 years earlier, he was sick, and his doctor told him he couldn't do this trip. So he'd gotten healthier, and he'd spent the last year getting stronger and swimming and training to take this trip. And when he went to take this trip, his daughters didn't want him to go. And he said, you know what, screw that. He says, I want to do this. I want to do these things now. Because he knew in his 80s, he was approaching the end of his lifespan. Now, I hope he lives for another 20 years and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, what I really loved is that, where most guys would have said, all right, I'm not going to do it, that kind of thing. He was like, fuck you, I'm going to do this. And I thought it was amazing. And it was a prime example how we're not fucking done until we're done. I got goosebumps right now just talking about it, because this guy was truly an inspiration. And that's the one thing I tell all the guys in the Silverbacks. Say, you're coming in, you're looking to get inspired, but within weeks, you're an inspiration for somebody else because you're doing it. There's a lot of people. A really cool thing, after we'd climbed this mountain, worked our way back, got on the boat, we'd take that boat over to another small island, and there was this lagoon, and there was a hot springs. So we're like, yeah, let's do it. But you had to jump off the boat, swim into the lagoon and stuff like that. Now, I'm like, I'm a 300 plus pound guy. I can swim. I'm no fucking, I don't know, name a swimmer. I'm no swimmer guy. But I mean, I was like, fuck it. I'm going to jump off this boat and I'm going to swim. And I did it. And I swam out there, we got into the lagoon. It was lukewarm, but it was still pretty cool and stuff like that. And then you had to swim back. Now, I gave myself a couple extra minutes. We had another 15 minutes. I looked at my wife and said, I'm going to start swimming back just because, I'm a little slower. And I didn't, want to be that drowning guy. So I swam back. It went really well. I was really happy. But you know what? When I climbed in that boat, I guarantee you, what was really sharp is that there were so many people on that boat that wished they could have jumped off that boat and swam out and done that. And that, again, that struck home to me. And there were some people there, there were some 70 and 80-year-old people, but there were some 40-year-old people. There were some 50-year-old people. And you could tell they were looking and wishing they were one of the ones that jumped off the fucking boat, swam out, and swam back in. You could tell that they had missed out on something, and they fucking knew it. And again, it just reinforced it, is that I don't want to miss out on shit anymore. And I don't want the people that I'm helping, the guys that I'm helping, I don't want you fucking guys to miss out on stuff anymore. So to me, very, very powerful stuff. I got a lot more out of that vacation than I ever would have 10 years ago or 5 years ago. And at the end of the day, so much more fulfilling. I want to go back. I want to do shit, right? And it motivates you to get to that next level, to do the next thing, to help other people do the same thing, because you want to share in their successes. That's the great thing about being a coach, is that one of the benefits, whether you realize it or not, once you become a coach, is that you get to share in all your clients' successes as well. You get a little bit of that feeling, right? It's not like, they owe it to you and stuff like that. They put in the fucking work, and your job is to motivate and nurture and guide. But you know what? When they succeed, you succeed, and you get to share a little bit of that. And that's probably one of the most, untalked about real benefits that's so rewarding as a coach, is that you get to share in all those little things with them. So you're always winning. You're always achieving. And, I'm blessed to have that as what I do for my life's, my life's work, or whatever you want to call it. But I mean, at the end of the day, it is pretty fucking powerful, right? So again, it's just, these guys motivate me as much as I motivate them. And that's why I'm passionate about helping as many guys as I can achieve those things they want to achieve. Anyway, that's all I got to talk about on that today, guys. If you liked any of the shit that we're talking about, please leave us a review in iTunes. If you have any questions, email me, kurthaas@gmail.com, and I'll talk to you guys later.